Hello there, welcome. Hi, my name's DOOKIESHED, and I'm about to tell you the top 10 Pokemon generations of all time. You see, over the last few centuries, there have been many generations of Pokemon games, and I narrowed it down to just 10 of them, and I'm gonna tell you guys all about them. Okay, are you ready? Here we go! Number 10! At number 10, we have Generation 15, also known as orange and purple versions. These were literally the last two colors in existence that hadn't been used for previous games, so Game Freak had no choice but to use them. Generation 15 had some pretty interesting and memorable Pokemon. I particularly like the Dot evolutionary line, especially when it evolved into Y and Punctuate. Seriously creative designs right there. There was Kazuka, which no one really liked, but I thought it was cool, and how could I not absolutely love Pooprit, the flying turd Pokemon? Spikadon was a pretty rad dark type that I used pretty much until the end of the game, along with Chickadoodle and its evolution, Cluckascissors, which were essential members of my team. And last but certainly not least, Musto and Manbeard might have been my absolute favorite Pokemon from that generation. I thought it was really clever how they evolved using the Beard Stone. This was also the generation that gave us the Star Ball, which would catch Pokemon that had stars on them without fail. Man, that thing was useful. Number 9! Up next at number 9, we have Generation 37, aka Sphere and Cube versions. They really committed to the whole inanimate object theme in this one with Pokemon like Keylime, Charizard, Bottleneck, Tigor, and Frozita. I was a particular fan of the Scrubble line, who would evolve into Grubble or Decrubble depending on how much of a scrub you were. The absolute coolest thing about Generation 37 though were the two new Electrode Megas, Electrode Sphere and Electrode Cube. Number 8! Generation 91, or Crayon and Paste version, was such a cool one. It was the first generation where they let kids under 6 years old design all the Pokemon. Some of my favorite were Butternut, the greasy pecan Pokemon, Bracknia, the butt spider, Diaploy, the crybaby who always pooped his diaper, Blaza, whose dex entry simply read, "It curls into a fireball," and last but not least, Blood Edge. I mean, look at how cool that thing is. They hadn't done a sword since Generation 6, and this one's all covered in blood. Anyway, I think letting little kids design Generation 91 was a great idea, and honestly, I hope they do it again. Or maybe they could get, like, the criminally insane to design a generation. I think that'd be fun. Number 7! Coming in at number 7, we have Generation 7. That's right, Sun and Moon. They came out in 2016 and were some of the best Pokemon games of all time, and I'll tell you why. Because of Norp, the only starter. This was the first game since Yellow version where there was only one starter, but it was totally fine because Norp was fucking awesome. I mean, look at him. Damn, Norp. Why are you so awesome? Along with that, they introduced the new Vlogger Trainer class, who used nothing but Ditto, and of course, who could forget one of the greatest rivals in Pokemon history, Marcelmo the Neckbeard. That guy was great. Number 6! Generation 420 came out the same year that marijuana was made legal across the entire world. Actually, not only was it legal, it was mandatory for everyone on Earth to be high all the time. It was a weird thing for a while. But we got one of the best Pokemon games, Fire Green version. And that was the only version because I'm pretty sure everyone at Game Freak was really high and forgot to make another. Actually, the game shipped without even being finished. After the 4th gym, there just wasn't like anything else to do. But those 4 gyms were great. They also managed to make like 10 different Pokemon based on bongs. Some of my favorites were the Bongqui line, who evolved into Bongzor and Bongarong, and then there was Bongbong, who was just another Bong, and then the version mascot, Dakun, whose mouth is definitely supposed to be some kind of paraphernalia. I guess someone snuck Heroiner in there because he isn't weed related. He's definitely drug related though. Of course, who could forget the Dealer Trainer class? They always claim to have them all. I think they were supposed to mean they have all the Pokemon, but I'm pretty sure they meant they have all the drugs. Number 5. Coming in at number 5, we have the Generation 4 reboot. That's what the versions were called. And they had new legendaries on the boxes, Canefire and Oregano. They were actually the only new Pokemon they added to the reboot and completely replaced Dialga and Palkia, who were totally lame anyway. They also decided to rework Piplup into Peplip, which I thought was a much better design. Overall, the Gen 4 remake nailed it and showed us all how a reboot is supposed to be done. Number 4! Now we're getting into the really good stuff. Coming in at number 4, we have Shining Golden God version, which was the only version because they didn't want to tarnish the epic storyline by making 2 separate games. And man, it was epic. This was the generation where Arceus finally got a Mega Evolution with 8 legs, 2 tails, and 999 in every stat. That thing was unstoppable. That is, until Pikachu stole Arceus' golden fence thingy and shoved it onto himself, finally evolving into Mega Pikachu like the fans had always wanted. Pikachu became the new god of the Pokemon world and began a reign of terror, causing some Pokemon to evolve differently. We had Rejecteon, which was the evolution whose family died and no one wanted, and then there was Reverse Diglett, an alternate Diglett evolution that happened because they would stick their heads in the ground to hide from Mega Pikachu. This was the generation where they finally fixed the HM problem and made a whole lot more, which was what everybody wanted. They went all the way up to 13, which was Trim. It could cut tall grass to be short enough to walk through. It was so useful! Number 3! Generation 515 wasn't the most popular one, but I really enjoyed it. Brush and bucket versions were based on an MS Paint theme, so all the Pokemon looked like they were drawn in paint. It was a really nice touch. Some of my favorites were Woof, Giraffurtle, Goofogedic, Genic, Charles, the banana peel with a cannon Pokemon, Angerbook, Blitzor, and of course, Mega Oddish. I really liked how they started giving Megas to Pokemon that weren't fully evolved. It was a nice touch. Number 2! It was a close call between Generation 69 and the number 1 entry, but something had to come in second, right? Dick and Tits version were fantastic. They were also really controversial and banned just about everywhere on Earth. There were a lot of really cool Pokemon in this generation. Some of my favorites were Illumititties, Dicky, 1 Willy and his evolution 3 Willy, Puckfucker, and of course the gropiest Pokemon ever, Grubadud. This thing knew Grab, Mega Grab, and Giga Grab. There were some really cool new items in this generation as well, like the Spanker, which you could use to keep your Pokemon in line, or get some Pokemon to like you even more, depending on the Pokemon. There was the Double Booby Ball, which had a high catch rate for Pokemon with 4 or more boobs. Super useful in this generation. And who could forget the Restraining Order item? You could use it to make another trainer release all their Pokemon if you suspected they were sexually abusing their team. And last but not least, the region had a great layout. 10 out of 10. Number 1! Coming in at number 1, we have Generation 666, or Apocalypse and Armageddon versions. Man, these games were insane. There was this huge nuclear war and the games took place right afterwards, so everything was like really fucked up. You had stuff like Bacterigoo, the Mistake Pokemon, Candwitch, the discarded breadcrust Pokemon, Huntdoc, who was like this cool plague doctor guy, Snook, a poison fire type that was the result of nuclear radiation, 3 Willy got an evolution into 5 Willy, and they introduced the Time type with Unborkle. My favorite evolutionary line from that gen would definitely have to be Dumderfish, who evolved into Screamadon, and finally, Megalogenocytosaurus. There were also these things called Hoboxes, which were people hiding under boxes pretending to be Pokemon. I thought it was a nice touch. Along with that, there were 2 new Megas. Mega Giratina, who was Dark Dragon Fire type, could learn any move and had a 999 in speed and attack. And of course, Mega Ho-Oh, who loses his wings and falls into poison when he Mega evolves, making him Fire Poison type. Good shit right there. So that sums up my top 10 Pokemon generations. I hope you enjoyed it. You let me know your favorite generations down there in that comments section. Yep. This was a serious, real thing that I just did. Totally not an April Fool's joke. Not even at all. Yeah, so big shout out to all the people on Twitter who submitted the art. All the art used in this video was fan submissions, which was really awesome. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, you're missing out on stuff like that. Go to Twitter, @DOOKIESHED. That's my thing that you follow on Twitter. You can do that. Then you can do stuff like this, like be in this video. I hope I remember to credit everybody in the description. But if I didn't, don't take me to court. Just remind me and I'll do it. I had fun doing this. It was really dumb. Okay, bye.